Hello everyone, welcome back to the next session, authorization check process. In this session we will be looking at how the authorization checks are executed. Let's assume that user is trying to create a sales order. Then the user will execute the transaction code VA01. The first thing what it will do, it will check whether the user have authorization to run VA01. How it checks? By authorization object. So the transaction code VA01 is assigned to the user using an authorization object s_t code, which we have seen. First it will check authorization object s_t code is available for this user in the user buffer. I already explained about the user buffer. There is something called user buffer. As soon as user logs in to the SAP system, the user buffer is filled with authorization objects which is available to the specific user. That means we assigned a role. The role in turn assign all the profile to the user. So the profile have lot of authorization objects. So as a user, when you log into the SAP system, it loads all the authorization objects which is assigned to the user to the user buffer. So the SAP system here, it will check s_t code with the field TCD equal to VA01 is available in the user buffer or not. If let's say this user does not have this authorization object with this condition, then it will say no. That means it will give an error message that you are not authorized to execute this transaction. Let's say this user have s_t code VA01. Then it will go to the next step. Then it will check VA01 what is inside VA01. What is additionally required to run VA01. That is, for example, authorization object. There are many authorization objects. We took only one example, v_vbark_vk0. Then under this authorization object you have many fields and these field values. So whether these fields and the field value, this authorization object is available for this user or not. If this is available, then it will go further. If it is not available, all these mandatory authorization objects which not available, then it will say you are not authorized to do, then it will stop the transaction. Let's say this is available, then the user can create a sales order. All the authorization object to create sales order is already there. Then it will execute the program and it will go to the create mode. Let's say the user is going further step to the next screen from the sales order to any other screen, then it will check the next authorization object which is required. Okay, let's say after creating the sales order, user is trying to create a consecutive document, for example, delivery note. So but delivery note, it will have its own authorization checks and its own transaction code. In this case, maybe it will not check the transaction code, but it will check the authorization object, what are the other additional fields, whatever the user is trying to execute. That means, so whenever user is trying to execute any program within the program or switching to another program, it will also check the respective authorization object. Authorization object check inside the program. For example, you are running a transaction code FB02. The program for this transaction code is SAP MF05L. So when you run this transaction code FB02, it's going to run this program SAP MF05L. So inside this program, it will have a statement like this: authority check object f_bk pf_buk, then activity is equal to activity field is 02 and bukrs is equal to buk. That means check the authorization objects. This object is available with this user with the activity 02. BUKRS, the company code is the BUK, whatever the company code. BUK means the value of the company code which is available or which the user is trying to change using this transaction code. then it goes back to the user buffer and check this specific authorization object. Then let's say it is this user buffer have this authorization object with the activity 02 and 03 with the BUK or as company code 1000. So when this is available, then it goes back and tell the system, okay, that means the system knows that this particular authorization object is available in user buffer, then it will go on. If it is not available, then it will give an error message saying that this company code is not accessible for you. Now this is the way the program checks the authorization, whether it is available with the user or not. As we seen our user buffer, the user buffer is basically the authorization role which is assigned to the user, meaning the roles are not directly assigned to the user, but the authorization profiles are assigned to the user. The user buffer always has all these authorization profiles which is assigned to the user. And this is also very important. Do not assign so many authorization objects to the user if it is not necessary. So if you assign more authorization object, then you are going to fill up the user buffer with this data. Then user will not have sufficient free memory for another processes. So this user buffer we can check using the transaction code SU56. Let's check in our system. Okay, this is a Mac user. If you log in here, run SU56. So it's analyzing user buffer. Here you can see all the user buffer. For example, these are all the authorization object class, and this authorization object, inside that you have authorization and which profile it's coming from, what is the role, this activity, and purchase document, what is the details. So it has all the details. This is already available in user buffer. So that is the reason whenever you change any authorization for an user, it is important that you log in again with this user. You have to log off and log in. Otherwise, if you if you execute /n, then it will refresh the user buffer. With this, we are coming to the end of the session. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next session.